even games, but it's leaning Dragons.
Interesting.
I've got to ask you, well, okay, so you say interesting, and I'll just let you elaborate.
It's just interesting that it's leading Dragons after the Oni Warriors have all the momentum in the world, right?
Yeah, good point.
If they're looking at draft-wise, also interesting, just because Aphrodite traditionally does not have the greatest track record. I know that, yeah, Dardes loves the pick. Doesn't mean it's good. In this case, I think he does have, Mifflin highlighted, it's great targets to actually attach to. If Dardes and Lasbra are just like hunting through the jungle, they can certainly find just about any 1v1 or 2v2 they would like once they get access to those ultimates. The issue then becomes getting value out of Undying Love, right? You need to make sure that ult is on point. You have to make sure you're immuning either a massive skewer from Pagon or a taunt in from a Genetics, maybe Netroid's ultimate, more specifically the Typhoon from Pantom. Those are probably the things that you're looking to immune in the early game, at least until SOT actually rotates out. But if it does, you should be having a good time. Dardes and Lasbra, they're able to just like stay attached and farm up efficiently. They've got a hard carry situation that they could try and play through. But if that is the case, I don't want to see Lasbra go into this Contagion build, man. I want to see full damage. There's a reason Afro is here. It's to keep you alive. Your build doesn't have to be that tanky. Afro will provide that healing. She will provide that beads and Aegis. You just have to do the damage.
And I did want to ask, I mean, you know, we've seen a lot of it, and this isn't necessarily a question of Afro over Cabrakan, but really just Afro mid versus Afro support. Like, we've seen her this year primarily go to support. The other day, was it just yesterday, actually? We saw it go thrown into support, but the cooldowns on it just not great compared to where they were at the beginning of the year. And something that Dardes is going to have to contend with. Didn't work too well for Genetics, who played it in the support role. How do you think it's going to fare for Dardes and mid in general?
Well, I'm a believer that Afro mid is better than Afro support in the right situation. Just because early on, yeah, she shares protection, she gives heal, she gives that sustain. But it just seems like even when you're full tank, you still die late game, so you might as well have some damage online. Again, Afro, her win rate does not reflect that well, right? She doesn't have the highest win rate for a reason, so I'm not saying Afro mid is really good. What I am saying is if you're going to go full damage, there's ways to amplify that. If you're just trying to get Lasbra to get to the back line and just absolutely pop off, having a full damage Afro kiss to him is the way to do that, right? You're going to be able to amplify him. Who cares about protections? You're not trying to survive a long time in the fight. I want you to one-shot. That is the idea.
Well, Fearless now onto SoloOrTroll, gets him low pull in from Panatom. Make sure his solo laner gets to walk out of there safely. Careful pathing back into the lane, make sure that goes well. Pagon poked out by the birds. And outside of left lane, where currently Netroid and Genetics are just standing on Vote and Mike's tower line, things seem to be going pretty well for the Dragons in the other two lanes.
So far, able to get very close to finding a kill, but not quite. So much movement out of both of these solo laners. And Amaterasu has been a pick that I definitely expected to be pretty highly contested, but so far has been very looked at both of these squads in this whole Game 5. I mean, Nika, if he could have had his choice, would have picked it probably every game, right? He has had the opportunity to take that Ama plenty of times. So now Sot gets his hand at it, and Nika on the tier. Both have tons of CC, but the difference maker, Nika has the blink, right? Doesn't go in for teleport, whereas SOT still does have that teleport, used it to try and get active there. Possible invade going for the purple buff. It looks like it was not confirmed there by the steal, so Genetics can't pick it up. It's okay for the Jade Dragons. They're happy with that often, but still, the dive that these Warriors can provide. Pulling beads, very important in this matchup as well, Gore. I mean, think about it. You got Susano and Set. You only get one set of CC immunity there, unless you're going Magi's or Absolution. Those beads are going to be so important, and I think that Nika is the man for the job to pull those down as this game continues.
Oh, yeah. Right tier, Fearless, once you get involved. We've been talking about it last couple of days, but earlier this set, even Nika and Sot both have exemplified this, as the solo laners are not tethered to that lane as heavily as they have been in the past. We've seen them rotate pretty early. Worst case scenario, if you don't see them sub 12, you'll see them usually around the beacon fight at 12 minutes. So guaranteed opportunity for him. Panatom getting aggressive, forces the ult. Now they've got the Athena here. They've got exactly what they need. A couple ults used, but it's first blood to the Warriors. Panatom kills off Dardes and starts this game off right.
Yep, and that's one of the big issues with Aphrodite, of course. You only get that one ultimate, and if you can't find the immunity you're looking for, you're going to be ran through. Dardes loses speeds, loses ultimate. Thank you over to Genetics, of course, for having that extra burst that needed to be used to find the kill. I mean, dropping 3 ults, yeah, that's going to end up being worth it. Lasper couldn't even help, right? He had the ultimate. He could have said, hey, should we go in with Volcanic Lightning? Should we try and get aggressive? There was no option. 3 members showed up, using the strength of that global presence. That's going to give first blood over to Panatom. The Susano off to a great start.
Now, still have to play carefully. Lasper wants a little bit more. Goes for Pagon. Beads used. Has the ult. Couple of autos, but the pullback from Panatom keeps things safe for his mid laner. Pagon, no health, no mana, but still makes it out of there. The Warriors. It is a massive play to make sure they don't fall down, and specifically to keep Lasbra under wraps.
Yeah, Pagon used the beads, had just enough to make sure he was able to get out of trouble there. And I can't help but think if there's a different build. Like, the Soul Eater gives okay stats, but you want to stack it up. I don't know. I guess I'm weighing on the Soul Eater too much. I just know that there's already an Aphrodite, so anti-heal is going to be a priority. Seems like Lasber could have went into more stats, but it just is so good. It synergizes very well with the Pele kit. Unlike last game, was able to find the beats at the very least. So Pagon has to play a little bit safe for the next 2 minutes, but he has so much movement on this set, as well as the Sigil, which is going to give him some protections. Shouldn't be too worried about getting ganked around a corner or just pulled back or knocked out by Lasbra. This set should be just fine, just continuing the farm as usual.
Now we have seen actually a pretty good smattering of every single recipe so far this weekend, right? The golden gooseberries, we've seen some sturdy stews, quite a few bountiful bow. And one that really, I guess, has stood out when it gets locked in has been this Party Punch, which is what Lasbra is going to be rocking. I guess we've been missing the durable drumstick. But the Party Punch, I'm just kind of wondering. I have to wait a moment because it looked like Lasbra was going to show up over here. How do you like it with the Pele? I feel like I've been seeing it on a few different junglers, and it's not been incredibly consistent as a yes, you need to lock it in, or maybe you can go for it. But Lasbra has gone back to it a few times. Do you like the synergy that it brings with the Pele?
Yeah, it's pretty much just, do you prefer, are you a god of spammable cooldowns, which Pele really isn't, because you already get 2 casts of your Pyroclash, your 3 doesn't really have a cooldown in that instance, so Bountiful Bow isn't getting as much value. So just getting extra damage after you travel a bit ends up being pretty worth it. A lot of these junglers can pick it up if they have that sort of value that Party Punch can provide. So I'm a big fan of it, especially on a god like Pele, who's just going to be zooming around looking to use that damage anyways. Speaking of Pele, you can see that Panatom was nearby. I was wondering if Lasper was going to make that rotation because he's close. He was kind of between tower at that moment. But it looks like he's more so looking at the shield buff, so the right side of the map untouched for the Jade Dragons for now. Pretty quiet though, right? I mean, the only Warriors are just pulling ahead slowly but surely off of some good rotations and farm. They've been clearing waves, pushing stuff in. I mean, Netroid and Genetics, they don't really have to leave this tower line fearful. This is kind of the issue with Oleron, is the early game has to be played a little bit careful, especially when the walls from PBM could pull your beads very easily.
Yeah.
But no one else is here, right? They know that there's no other gank coming. So there's no punishment for Genetics and Netroid playing a little bit passively. Lasbra's close by. Let's see. Doesn't even go past the halfway point. Has no need to go in for a gank, apparently.
It's actually kind of rare. The gold chart, I mean, it does exactly what you would ask, which is you can see the time of first blood, and then you can see, as you had kind of mentioned, the steady rise then from the Warriors. But really, that's where a majority of this lead has come from, right? It's a couple of invades, it's a couple of neutral farm camps going their way. But really, it's that first blood that gave them the big jump forward. Now, as you mentioned, kind of quiet from him. Panatom hasn't really been super active as far as ganks and lanes go. Pagon, who on a set, you would maybe expect some of that, has gone for the Transcendent, so maybe that's part of what the team is waiting for. It's a pretty big power spike. But Trelly, I'm guessing the real question is, at this rate, 9 minutes in, 1-0 for the Warriors, is it better to wait and, like, who starts to engage? Do you lose opportunities if you're the Warriors here to the Dragons potentially as the game goes on, or do the Warriors still have good engage later on that they can play at this tempo?
No, they can definitely play at this tempo. I think they're waiting for Genetics to rotate out of lane to give some taunts, to give some setup. But again, it doesn't have to be forced. It's not one of those things that they're worried about their late game. They've got double Assassin and Pagon and Panatom are only going to get better. Netroid just wants to get itemization online. Magical ADCs just want items, right? That is their biggest just boon in XP, and that's the biggest power spike is when they can get some attack speed, some damage, some crit chance online, the Oleron that is. So I don't think the Oni Warriors are that pressed. They're not saying we need to force a fight, we need to step forward, we need to go in for a Gold Fury. It's not as if the Jade Dragons are happy, losing this early game, but they're also not in the biggest rush. It's once the Beacon starts spawning in, it's once Gold Fury starts to be looked at, it's once Pyromancer becomes a topic of contention. That's when we're really going to see the Jade Dragons start to sweat and maybe step forward more. But getting Darda's a second relic, getting him, that breastplate online, there's some important power spikes you can see the Jade Dragons are sort of waiting for before they even attempt to step up for any sort of engagement.
Genetics and Panatom, they don't know this. We do. Standing on a ward, Dardas is not leaving that tower. Whether you think he knows you're there or not, he is not going to step far forward against Genetics. Taunt, along with all that other burst of damage, was great earlier. This time around, the shield wall is going to be enough to get rid of the second Bastion in mid. And I believe looking at it, for the Dragons, that was the last one standing. All 6 still up, actually, the other way around. Vote forced into the wall, the damage, the burst, seemingly out of nowhere, and Pagon with the loop around finds the exact position you need to go if you're going to pick up Vote on that one. A second on the board for the Warriors, and 2 kills this game total. And it is a clean pickup. Now 1-0-1 for both Panatom, Pagon, and a nice 0-0-2 pickup for Genetics, as Vote spends a few more seconds in the penalty box.
I can't figure out a single reason Vote would be there. Like, unless it was just, hey, Gold Fury could be coming up. I'm about to repeat myself. I can't think of a single reason Mike would be here. Gold is not being done. Why are we even stepping up at this point? Gold Fury is going to be absolutely free here for the Oni Warriors. They had the cold lead, they have the pressure, they've got the man advantage. They just got spoon-fed 2 free kills because out of position.
And consequently, the only reason that you would be in that position to begin with now also goes over the Warriors. The Gold Fury picked up for free. And it's, you opened up Pandora's box, it feels like. Stepping into the jungle and into an unfortunate spot. First blood, you can see, at this point about 10 minutes ago, a nice steady increase for the Warriors on the gold graph until this Fury, but now with a couple of kills going their way as well. Talking 3,200 gold and just the same amount of experience. Mostly manifesting, in a level here or there. Beacon spawns in. Maybe you don't even need the fight. Warriors aren't going to step up to it. Dragons have 3/4 of this capture point controlled, and it's going to tick over into their favor, no problem, because Sot knocking down half of a tier 1 on his own. You've already got 3 kills in the Fury. The Warriors aren't worried about the fight.
Certainly are not. And I will give Mike a little bit of credit. As a support, sometimes you have to face check Gold Fury. That makes sense. But again, as an ADC who can pick up a buff and pull it underneath your tower, there's almost no reason to be in that lane unless you're worried about a fight breaking out, which it didn't seem like the Jade Dragons wanted to take. They're behind. Mike, once again, getting taunted back in, and Panatom has a sick wraparound here.
The walls lock Netroid in for a little bit. Panatom doesn't go for the kill. Shield buff is going to be secured over there by Mike. So if that's all you're fighting for, it's a small win for the Dragons. Small wins. Really, they start to add up as time goes on, but you need quite a few of them to jump over what the Warriors have done. They essentially got 1,000 gold for every kill on the board. And look at the positioning. Outside of Sot, who's far back, everybody else is on the same line, and it's right outside the tier 1s. Finally, you'll have Pagon and Panatom falling back, but the line of scrimmage for the Dragons is not where it should be when you still have your tier 1 tower standing.
No, it is pushing forward ever so slightly. Every 1,000 gold, I would say, it moves up a couple yards just to make sure the Oni Warriors are able to find some extra farm, find those engages, invade on the buffs if possible. Just make sure the Jade Dragons never feel safe in their own jungle seems to be the MO. Pyromancer has touchdown though, so the Oni Warriors, if they want to keep trying to push this lead, that would be the next place to do it. They've got the pressure, they have the gold, they've got the XP. Why not start working on the structures? That Runic Bomb, I don't think you got to save it for a Gold Fury or for a Fire Giant. It might be time to start knocking down Tier 1 towers for how defensively the Jade Dragons have been positioning recently. Mike does have the walls. That Tectonic Shift isn't going to do too much once Genetics upgrades that Phantom Shell. At the moment, not quite available. I'm just trying to think of where the Jade Dragons really can look to fight. I still think it's a lot on Lasbra and Dardes. The Pele with an Afro Kiss can get to the backline pretty effectively. Panatom, the only one that really seems killable because Netroid never leaves that tower line. He is just super safe in this lane when he knows anyone's close by. So you're essentially looking for Susano to be out of position or you're farming. That's pretty much the call here for the Jade Dragons.
Well, the farming part's been going pretty well. As you can see in the jungle, things seem to be solid for him. Mike's rotated into mid, as has Genetics. But keeping my eyes, at least on the minimap, I've been watching Lasbra. Oh, unbeknownst to him, walks right on the edge, I believe, of that ward just next to green. So vision, yeah, should be noticeable for him. And at this point, if anything, Genetics is just going to see him the old-fashioned way. Beacon's going to be coming back in about 2 minutes. Pyromancer started here by the Warriors. Sot tanking it. They're going to go ahead and drop it. 4v4. Votes back in base. You've got the rotation now coming in from Netroid, so you got the 5v4 for a little while. Nika is getting burned down, forced to use the Fearless over the wall, or the Lawbringer over the wall. Fearless away. Pyromancer burned down, and the Warrior's going to pick up yet another unanswered objective.
There's have a Runic Bomb, hand that one over to Genetics. Sot does dash forward, maybe a Tier 1 tower. Use that Runic Bomb immediately. Might be the call here for the Oni Warriors. It is a true 5v5 because here comes Nika. But Panatom's actually nowhere to be found. Undying Love just for fun as Genetics get caught, but I don't think you're killing that Athena. If anything, he's stepping forward.
Sanctified Fields barely catches anybody. Nika goes
the
into
slowest
it,
Fearless.
Slow Fearless. And you get to watch Netroid just kind of lazily walk away from it. And an unfortunate scenario for the Dragons, what otherwise maybe could have at least led to a kill. Now that Tier 1 in mid is almost gone. And Trelly, they've got nothing to show for it on the Dragons. Starting to push, I mean, definitely the 5,000 gold mark here. The Warriors haven't needed another kill. They've just been able to find it through farm alone.
Well, Primal Fury's back. The Oni Warriors haven't left. They've got healthy HP. At least heading over, but it looks like a blink in for Panatom trying to find the kill. Luckily, Vote gets to the sky. Where's he going to go back down? Hiding in the wall, trying to turn this around. It's Lasbra.
It has the damage. Panatom's low teleports away in there. The AoE, he uses it against Genetics to get the kill. Vote gets traded out, but finally the Dragons are on the board, and they're not done chasing just yet. Dardes is here. You've got some damage and healing, but you don't have the confidence, and you don't have a Tier 1. They have to let that one go. 1 kill for 1. Honestly, with the way this has been going, Trelly, it feels pretty good.
Certainly does. All the while, Sot just proxied behind Phoenix, grabs himself a speed buff, is attempting to grab the red as well. If Nika can have anything to do about it, we'll try to keep these buffs alive. But still, the Amaterasu, free farming just about everything on the map, has been the call. And he did. He took away all the jungle of the Jade Dragons as they lost their ADC. At the very least, get a trade. But I'm not sure it's worth it. I mean, Vote is down a level. I guess XP-wise, it's not like Netroid has this abundance of farm. But if you think about a level 14 Chernobog who has to deal with a level 18 Amaterasu, that doesn't seem very fun to me.
3 levels between Sot and Nika, 2 levels in mid, Dardes and Pagon. You're starting to see that grow for Netroid as well. I mean, it's been systematic from the Warriors. They have been every single place they can be. They have been in control, in charge of these decisions. The Dragons have not been able to break free just yet. And even the amounts of pressure they have. I mean, Trelly, you know, I'm looking at it, trying to highlight it and feel good about it for the Dragons with a 1-for-1 trade. And then I look up and somehow the Warriors were another 1,000 gold up because of Sot. And that's really where a lot of these issues are creeping up, is that you're finding these small fights, but you're going to need something big. And at this rate, the play that you need, the bigger it's going to be, the longer the game goes. Primal Fury started up by the Warriors. There's not going to be a chance for anyone on the other side to respond. They're not even over here if they could. Warriors continue pushing this lead. 19 minutes in, it's massive. 7,000 gold and just as much, if not more actually, experience in their favor. And a lot of that sitting in the solo lane.
A lot of it is. And I think the Jade Dragons recognize, again, Vote needs to split push. He needs to stay over in left lane. He needs farm. But if that's the case, then who is going to help you get out of this hole? It really is just Lazarus. There's so much weight on this Pele to try and find damage, try and find a pick, try and find a way back into this game. And there's not enough farm in the world to get him to that point, right? He's got 3 items. It's not like Pele can just 1v5 just because Dardes is nearby. Dardes has to ult just because Genetics dashes in with a taunt. It really is a difficult situation to be in. Netroid's rotated out. I don't think it's for a Pyromancer. I'm thinking this Fire Giant is not long for this world, or at the very least trying to go for a pull. Pyromancer first, sure. But the Oni Warriors have such a lead that going in for a fire pull at 20 plus minutes doesn't seem that far-fetched. And the Jade Dragons have to make their choice now. Is Vote ulting in, or are you giving this up because it's just the first Fire Giant of the game? And I think you say, Vote, don't even click 4, just get some towers, man.
Gonna knock down the tier 1. That's how we saw the Dragons keep alive earlier. Nico's able to split push as well, but Vote right now putting in the work. Fire Giant's low. Dardes, Nika, Mike, and Lasbra are gonna be over here. Fight started up, Sot leading the way. Lasbra targeted out by Genetics. That's gonna be the dash from the set. Skewer from the set to get some damage out there. That's going to separate the Dragons from the Warriors. Buying time right now are the Dragons for Vote. Standing on the tier 2 tower line and left. Fire Giant started up one more time by the Warriors. Beacon is going to start charging. We'll be here in about 2 minutes for these teams to fight over. Tier 2 goes the way of Vote. Tower.
He's still going.
Is going to continue putting pressure on. Leaves the Phoenix. No, turns back. The Dragons think they have what they need to distract, and they're going to continue exactly what they're doing. Fire Giant's getting low, 25% HP. Fearless on Netroid against the wall. They're looking for the kill. They're not going to find it. Warriors get the Fire Giant, and the damage, the pressure is on. Netroid finally killed off. Vote joins the fight at the end, and they're looking for some kills, but it's 1 for 1. Mike falls down on the Dragons, and they need a little bit more to get the magic working for them, and they've got Vote, but is Vote going to be able to find anything? He's in the wall, waiting. Sot looking for him. Lasbra goes down, dash, comes in, and you're losing everything on the fight. It's the duo lane on the Warriors, but it's 3 down for the Dragons. The rest, Dardes, Nika, turn and run. Healing, keeping them alive, but Trelly with 3 on Fire Giant. Dragons make the only play they probably could.
Yep, I tend to agree here. Maybe you find something on a Pantom, you're able to grab the beads.
Close.
But unfortunately, the beads were available, which means Pantom gets to live to see another day. Sot takes this tier 2 tower. You might be questioning why Vote ulted away, but the truth is, if Vote doesn't show up, that fight goes much worse. And even if he grabs the left side Phoenix, the Oni Warriors, let's say, have 4 alive, Fire Giant on those 4, and then they just push up left lane with the 10k gold lead. And who cares if your Phoenix is down? So I think Vote made the absolute correct call. Push as long as possible, join the fight late, try and deal with some of these Fire Giant buffs. Now, the Warriors have fire on 3. Sure, this gold lead is still massive, but the Jade Dragons have put a little bit of a stop on the push that the Warriors were going for. They still have plenty of time, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. They could even grab the beacon and try and push with their Titan. The buff won't be there, but at the very least you have your Titan, Gold Fury. There's still a lot to be looked at here. But with a 20-minute Fire Giant anyways, it's not like you're looking to break the base. The Phoenixes are still a bit of a stretch. All I noticed in that fight, though, was that Sot, he went Kins and Gooseberries, and he's absolutely cutting down some of these tanks. Nika can't just stand there and trade auto attacks with him because of how much shred this Amaterasu actually has in those fights.
Well, this has been a stellar match. Of course, Trelly looking towards the future. The Gold Fury gets started by the Warriors, so they're going to put more gold on the board. Same thing for the Beacon. That's going to spawn Titans. Should be, yeah, right down there in mid. It's a friendly reminder that after this, there's the draft show to figure out where these are. Very, very lucky for Vote.
If this man lazy back there and got God, that might have just been Phoenix gone, honestly.
Well, now, at least gets an opportunity. Nika's going for a pushback. Pulled back in by the Warriors, and man, the melt is there, but Nika still makes it over the wall to get out of there. Typhoon comes in to knock up, but not able to find Nika. So personally, he'll get back and probably wants to heal. But Shelly, one thing these two have treated us to, these teams have treated us to, a 5-game set and a matchup we won't get to see too often. They will be in opposite divisions as we go into the regular season, which means we'll see them play one time during those few weeks. Probably not again until we get to tournament time towards the end on that road to Worlds. So an absolute treat. Of course, a reminder, again, that this is going to lead into the draft show. Whoever wins this gets the power of control. First pick on who they want in the other guy's division. A lot of fun for them to be had. The Warriors with a very, very comfortable lead. Almost 12K gold. Pretty much the same amount of experience. Titans clashing in mid. Chaos is going to win this one. Dragons falling back, and Sot's been split pushing. 7-3, it's 25 minutes in, and the Warriors, I mean, they are standing on the precipice of starting their dynasty one more time, but the Dragons have something to say about it.
I mean, Sot gets this, right? The runic bomb was enough, even with the push-in. Doesn't seem like they've got enough damage to try and punish this. So the Amaterasu with Fire Giant gone, it just sneaks in and grabs a right side Phoenix for absolute free. The Oni Warriors just did not have the time to set up that push, but Sot knows he's got movement, he's got beads, he's got about as much damage as anyone else could have at that point. And the runic bomb confirmed that Phoenix goes down. I mean, still 2 tier 2 towers up. The Jade Dragons felt like they were in a confident position to defend there. But you lose track of an Ama for a couple seconds, and you lose that bird. Luckily, it's the closest Phoenix to Fire Giant, so not going to be that difficult to try and defend. The real issue is going to be trying to defend, right? You're taking a fight in the jungle with Pagon sitting 4-0 on this set. So much to try and run down. Panatom has this upgraded starter item as well. Not going to be easy. If you get caught out at fire, there's no way you're running all the way back to your own Phoenix or to your own Fountain at this point. There's just too much jungle chase. So the Jade Dragons need to decide right now. Do we even defend a regular Fire Giant?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, an enhanced Fire Giant would be the end-all be-all, but a regular FG, probably playing this about as safe as you can. They're stepping forward. It seems like they do want to defend, but one misstep here and the game could be over.
I want to talk about a successful lane, though. Bastions are still up for Pagon in mid. There's been no pressure on that tier 1 tower. 4 still standing in terms of towers for the Warriors. Tier 1 and both mid and right. Of course, the tier 2 is right behind them. You had called for it. Fire Giant not only started up, but it looks like the Dragons, as of right now, are going to let this one slide due to its non-enhanced nature. The fight afterward, you have to be a little more careful of. Taunt on Mike is good, and now the engage stun. Follow-up damage is there. 8th on the board for the Warriors, and a 3rd for Panatom. 3, 1, and 5 for the jungler. And Mike, 40 seconds in the grayscale.
See, and that makes no sense, right? Why, if you're not defending Fire Giant, why are you there, right? You're dying for back camps at that point. They haven't even spawned in. It seemed like the Jade Dragons called, let's defend Fire. But Darius went back to base. He said, oh, I won't be there. Good luck. And so what? Nika and PBM are going to go in for the steal. It just doesn't make sense. The Warriors get a free Phoenix now.
Stepping up to mid. Zone from Genetics. Tauntaun to Dardes. Nika goes in to try and zone and gets a lot of damage onto Panatom. Needs a little bit of help from his team, but won't find it. Phoenix goes down. The Dragons have to make a massive play here. Nika's trying his best to do so. 5 seconds for Mike. Second Phoenix gone off the board. They won't be able to break into the base here. Shelly, signs of life from the Dragons. The heart's still beating. They're still pushing forward, looking for Sot now. Forces the ult out of the Yama. Nika dodges the stun. Genetics, as well as Pagon and Netrioid, going to be here. Panatom's going to join too far after. And a fight fizzles out before it can truly break out here. The Dragons know better than to follow too deep into the jungle.
Oh, in range of a dash taunt. Does get taunted back in and
Great
forced to
walls.
beat, but yep, here comes the wall. Is this a good wall, or are you stuck in the sanctified fields, Mike?
Yeah, he's locked in there with them, not the other way around. The front line from the Dragons just deleted. The Warriors now smell the blood in the water, want to get aggressive. Vote has to go into the sky, but where do you land? It has to be right back where you started. Goes towards Netrioid. Aegis buys some time. Do you have the damage? Dardes, make sure you live as long as you possibly can. The dash to the wall vote is surviving through everything that it should be, but finally taken down. Separation is there from the Dragons, and there's nothing you can do to defend this one. It's Lasbra versus the world. Fire minions pour into the base. The Warriors, you either 3-0 them or you're done. They come in to start this win streak one more time and take the second kickoff tournament this year.
The double assassin squad of Pagon and Panatom absolutely run the early game. The tanks as well, Genetics and Sa. Sa just solos a Phoenix over on right, gets as much farm as he wants in the whole world. And then Genetics just provides all the setup in the world.
Yeah.
The taunts, the providing that everyone just needed. Netroid, of course, the Sanctified Fields were on point, but he was just